This is SBR's Football Betting Daily.
What up, cappers, gamblers, punters? What up, football fans? It is Tuesday at 4 p.m. Eastern, which means the Audible has arrived, and we are ready to rock. My name is Jimmy the Bag, and I am joined, as always, by the legend, Donnie Rightside. How you feeling out there, Donnie?
Feeling good. Tuesday. Look, one of the better days of the week where you got that Monday Night Football out of your mind. You start to move it forward to the Thursday Night Football game in the NFL and Sunday card. I'm excited. It's the Audible 1 hour. Let's have some fun, Jimmy, as we usually do.
Let's have some fun. We are joined by some great cappers already. Rain Man with us. Moshe Bogarat with us. Ryan Gosling straight out of Montreal with us. And David Hutton, beautiful David Hutton joining us. Love this guy. I took it in the bottom mouth this past week, right in the old drink hole. It was by far my worst week of the season. It rocked me to the core, Donnie. I'm a little shell-shocked. I am nonplussed, and I'm angry. Moshe Bogart says, Jimmy, I'm begging you, stop fading the Chiefs. Moshe has my best interests in mind. Thank you, Moshe. Brant Hunt with us. Vitalis joining us. Brant Hunt, by the way, I was saying on the early show that I was somewhat interested in the under in that big Chiefs-Patriots game coming up. And after some study, I don't know if I could possibly pull the trigger. Brant Hunt was shocked that I would even be thinking about that. It is an enormously high total, but that I would even be thinking about that under. And I agree with you, Brant. I might have been a little harsh there. Vitalis angry at the Rams. My God. We'll break all these games down, but I was off in a bad way. The Lions took care of business for me. I got lucky there. 4 missed field goals and a missed extra point. The Bengals took care of business. They covered. I got lucky there. I mean, I could have gone 0 for the whole week, to be honest with you, Donnie. I'm uncomfortable. Any major points that you saw before we break down these games? Any major points that you want to discuss that happened last week?
Yes, you know what's interesting about last week, which, I'm from the old school, and a lot of rookies come into the league, and they're put in some bad situations on bad football teams, and they don't always perform up to their capabilities, but now I'm starting to come around a little bit. You're seeing Baker Mayfield make some throws. I thought Sam Darnold made some big-time throws in that New York Jets game. Now, look, Josh Allen didn't have a great week, and neither did Josh Rosen, but again, the other players around the team rising up, rookie quarterbacks going 4-0, unheard of in my book. Maybe I got to open up those chapters a little bit more and say, you know what? Might be some value on these rookie quarterbacks when I usually don't like them in those type of situations, Jimmy.
Yeah, the rookies stepped up. The trusted veterans stubbed their foot. I had the over in the Chargers-Raiders game. Carr, again, I just never know what I'm going to get from Carr.
Nope.
We'll get to these.
Yeah, and can we get back on like the Oakland Raiders? Like for some reason, like if you can say I have a running back like Marshawn Lynch and I'm on the 1 yard line, if you hand him the football 4 times in a row from the 1, I would probably say 98 or 99% you're going to cash that in with a touchdown. One of the more, and again, you're right, Jim, if you have Carr. That was such a key play overall. If you're going to cover with Oakland, if you're going to hit the over, that sent the game into a tizzy because how do you look? He looked like was the Chargers playing tight end and he threw it right to the guy? It was an amazing debacle, and it just seems like Marshawn Lynch always ends up in those situations there. But that was a terrible play for your over. I couldn't even believe it when I was watching it.
It was a terrible Sunday, awful Sunday, but. A new week is here, and I desperately need to get rolling again. Vitalis says, Jimmy Donnie, I'm showing some sharp love for the Green Bay and Niners under. I promise you, Vitalis, we will get to that game, but let's start chronologically. Let's start in order. Let's start with the Eagles-Giants Thursday night. As you guys know on the Audible, we absolutely love hearing Donnie's Eagles breakdown. This guy knows this team inside and out. Eagles opened -3, total opened at 45. Now there's some 44s. I do have some interest in the over. Ajayi is done for the year. We've heard they have contacted the Bills about Shady McCoy. Corey Clement, as far as I know, should be good to go. But Donnie, what is wrong with the Eagles? They are costing me cash. Super Bowl hangover. And here, I know we're dealing with a young quarterback coming back from injury, but can we just trust the younger quarterback to be ready on this quick turnaround than Eli? And does one good game sort out the Giants' problems? I mean, we talked last week. They hadn't hit 30 points since the 17th week of 2015. Olivier Vernon will be ready to go. That is a huge deal. Eagles, Giants, Eagles 3-point favorites. What are you thinking here on Thursday night, Donnie?
Yeah, typically in my playbook, when I go to Thursday Night Football, you're either going to make the move on the home team or you're just going to pass on it altogether because the NFL, again, you guys hear me on all these shows, the most unfair competitive advantage in all of sport is the NFL football team that's playing on the road in Thursday night. It's amazing that the NFL even allows us to go on. We've talked about it a lot, Jimmy, saying, look, man, just double up on Monday night, take the Thursday game out, or put in the second bye. So no matter what happens on a Thursday night football game, these guys have, 10 to 14 days to get ready for Thursday night football. It's egregious that they do it. But having said that, this is a little bit more interesting because if we're good at geography, which most of us are not, Philadelphia is not that far from the Meadowlands in East Rutherford. You literally hop on down at Grand Central Station in Philadelphia, 30th Street Station, and take an hour train, and you are to the Meadowlands area, which the Eagles will do. So it's not a true, like what we saw with the Vikings a couple weeks ago there, Jimmy, where the Vikings got to go from Minnesota and travel all the way to Los Angeles on a Thursday night just to get served up on a platter. This is a little bit different here, but the Giants are playing pretty good football. The Giants defense, even though they did give up some points here versus the Carolina Panthers, they're keeping their team in most games. It's a shame that you have a quarterback like Eli Manning just throwing ridiculous interception after ridiculous interception. Anybody else that's quarterbacking that would be competent for the Giants, they would be in a really good spot in this football game. He's the only thing holding that team back. Can't get the ball deep to Odell Beckham Jr. And how about being down 17-3 in the last game, Jimmy, with the Panthers? And how do you break out of that funk? You have your wide receiver throw a touchdown pass to the running back, not your quarterback, sparking that comeback. And it's a shame that you lose on a 63-yard field goal to end the game. But the NFC East is tight. The Giants really need this one. Do I think the Giants can win just by a product, Jimmy, of being on Thursday Night Football and being at home is a major advantage? And the Eagles aren't quite there yet. There's just something missing right now with the offensive line, with Carson Wentz holding the ball too long. The playmakers aren't making plays. Nelson Aguilar had a fantastic year last year, Jimmy. Now all of a sudden, back to his normal 3 to 4 catches and 3 to 4 drops per game, it seems like. Alshon Jeffrey should be coming on strong here. It's not a position that I like. Do I think the Eagles can win the football game? I do think they can win, but I think the Giants keep it close. That's it. Look, every game it seems like the Eagles play with the Giants is a close game anyway. Buyer beware if you're going to look at the Eagles in this game because, again, it's either the home team for me, Jimmy, or no team on Thursday Night Football.
Yeah, and our guys in the chat not liking it. Although Moshi Bogart says slight home dog on a short week sounds tasty. Vitalis pass. Marco Lou, I do not like the Eagles and Giants. I am off that game. What do you think about this total at I shouldn't say anymore, but at 44? I have a slight lean to the over. Do you think there will be offense in this game? Do you think that the Eagles' troubles on offense will continue and Olivier Vernon will be a big boost to this Giants defensive line?
This will be an interesting one because you're right. If Olivier Vernon comes back, that's going to put extra pressure on Carson Wentz. And then we're already looking at the already horrific offensive line that the New York Giants have. Derek Barnett sat out last week, who I think the Eagles' best overall pass rusher. He was a full participant in practice. It's usually pretty easy to get the Eli Manning. But the one thing that the Eagles do have trouble with, and most teams do in the NFL, if you have a dominant wide receiver like Odell Beckham, you run a couple double moves at Jalen Mills, and it seems like it turns into 60, 70-yard plays at will. The only problem is Eli is so old and decrepit, he can't get the ball downfield anymore. So that's something to keep an eye on. I actually would lean, since it's a Thursday night game, more of the under at 44 because I think the Eagles are hearing the footsteps now. I think the locker room has spoken. We need to run the football more. We can't drop back 55 times in NFL games and win. Carson Wentz is taking a beating. Maybe you want to take a little bit off him. Corey Clement returned back to practice this week. Maybe you can lean on him a little bit in this situation. I do know J.J. is out, and that does hurt the team, but Corey Clement can come back and be a serviceable running back. Thursday night, division opponent. I usually look to lean towards the under in those type of scenarios.
I hear that. Difficult Thursday nighter for us. Guys looking for angles and looking to make some cash. John Roy says, system play, I'm on Giants, not loving it. And Bill Butlicker joining us, my man Armin joining us. We got a great group. Let's keep rolling. Cardinals at Vikings. Vikings opened up -11. Now there's -10.5 and 10s. Total opened at 43. It stayed there. Rosen complete. Now this Cardinals 49ers game just had to go for a couple walks just to cool down. I was very upset watching it. Rosen completed 10 passes all day long against a team that has no pass rush. David Johnson rushed for 55 yards. Rosen completes 10 passes, and they win by double digits. Unbelievable, thanks to 5 turnovers. And clearly this Cardinals offense is abysmal, excuse me. Will Minnesota start playing ball now? That's the question. Looks like they're getting themselves together. They have a healthy defense other than the Griffin issue. I think that the Vikings are rolling, and I think this score clearly flattered the Cardinals. I think the Vikings smashed the Cardinals. What do you think here?
Yeah. No, I would be on the same plane with you. I mean, I don't like to lay double digits in the NFL. I don't think there's a lot of advantage because it's hard to win in the NFL as it is, and it's even harder to win, obviously, by 7 points or more. But when you're looking at, styles that make fights out here, it's amazing because some people just look at the final score, Jimmy, and see 28-18. Hey, 4 touchdowns for the Cardinals. They're really making an improvement. But break that down, 56 yards total on the ground and 164 in the air. And let's not forget that broken coverage, 75 or 80-yard play to Kirk, which was half of the damn near passing yards that they had for the entire game on one play. So it wasn't like they moved the football up and down the field and were really, active in the passing game. They weren't. Now you're going to go into a dome situation, and maybe you needed that win because the Vikings take a couple losses. They lose that game to the Bills. They were embarrassed by. They go out on the West Coast. They get hammered by the Rams. Then they go into Philadelphia, beat them. That was a big win. You come home, you could take that deep breath because you couldn't afford 3 losses in a row, so you avoided that. And now you play Arizona, which doesn't present too many issues. You have a good offense. Kirk Cousins is a pretty good quarterback in the NFL. He made play after play after play versus the Philadelphia Eagles, and I'm not so sure Arizona can do that. You can't rely on your defense strip sack fumbling and returning, punts and kicks or interceptions back for your points. That doesn't work that well. I look at stone cold numbers, and when we're taking a look, 68 yards on the ground to open the season, 54 the next week, 53 the next week, 92 versus Seattle, and 56. You haven't thrown for more than 200 yards in a game. That's going to catch up to you quick. Jimmy, this has all the envisions of 27-10 type of football game where Minnesota wins this by double digits.
I like hearing that. Again, as you said, it's uncomfortable taking double-digit favorites here, but I just feel like they smashed the Cardinals in the mouth. King Rail of King's Court joining us says, I agree with you. Minnesota smashes. Rain Man, under. What do you think about that total? You said you see a 27-10 final score written all over it.
Yeah, exactly. Jimmy, look at the game that they just had, the Arizona-San Francisco game. I thought you were good because I didn't know who you had in that game. I thought you were going to tell me you had the under. I remember looking at that game going, man, the under was an absolute steal in this one. And you blink your eye and it goes over. I mean, it's so hard. We say it every week. We have these shows, 43, 44, 45. It's not really built for the under. If you had the under in that 49ers game, you should be able to go up to the ticket window in Las Vegas and still cash your ticket on the under. That was an egregious cover. Never should have happened.
Never should have happened. I agree with you guys, and I agree with the chat. I think the Vikings are live. I think the under is live. King Rail saying Arizona only bright spot is the D. Their offense is horrible. Donnie was spot on. I agree. I agree completely with that situation.
Brutal offense. I'm talking look, we talk, rookies that step up, Jimmy, and do all that good stuff. It's not even like a 1 week thing. Arizona didn't play well on offense. Every single week they stink on offense, and now you go on the road. And again, I try to play off the rookie quarterback here. He might be the one that's holding up the whole rookie movement here. Baker Mayfield's been good, Darnold's been good, but now I look at this game and say, look, what do you expect, Jimmy? I'm going to ask you the question here. What do you expect from the Arizona offense going on the road in the Dome versus the Vikings? Can you set an over-under of points? Honestly, if you say, 16.5 for Arizona. If you don't think they can get to 16.5, they're probably going to cover double digits. What do you think, the outcome of that offense can be going to play in Minnesota?
I think that if you offered me a team total for the Cardinals at 16.5, I would take the under. I would take the under with confidence. I mean, that game, you said the word egregious. It is exactly the right word. It was unbelievable that the Cardinals end up with 28 points and a double-digit victory. I mean, Beathard gets destroyed in his first week, gets hit hard a couple times, and now he's panicking. Now he's just firing off the ball. He's scared out there, and the Cardinals took advantage of it. We talked about how the 49ers had the right linebackers to slow down this David Johnson attack with Warner, and I think this Cardinals team could be destroyed this weekend, and I'm happy that we're all in it together. I think the Vikings and the under are plays that I wanted to make, and I'm writing in here the team total under, hoping that it might be around that 16.5.
I agree with you, Jimmy. I agree.
Let's keep rolling. Chargers at Browns. Opened at a pick 'em. Now the Chargers are -1 on a few of the books. Total opened at 46, now 44.5, a couple 44s. That was a dominant performance by the Chargers. The Chargers, to me, are a better football team than the Ravens. The Chargers also, to me, are the best football team this Brown squad has played all season. Yes, it was an impressive win by the Browns. Mayfield has some fire in him. Denzel Ward's incredible. But again, the Chargers are the best team that the Browns will face. I like the Chargers here. I think they can take care of business. I think the Chargers are coming together. And look out when Bosa comes back. I like the Chargers. The total's being bet down to 44. Very curious what you think on the side and the total. Chargers at Browns, Donnie.
Yeah, it looks pretty easy because I'm not big on the Browns. They did have a good game last week, or a good game plan on defense, and it just seems like the Ravens slipped back into what the Ravens have done in the past. A little bit sluggish on offense. You're up 3-0 in that ball game, heading in for another touchdown. Joe Flacco panics in the pocket, throws the ball that gets deflected, and it's intercepted. But neither here nor there. You go to the end of the game and give some credit to Baker Mayfield. Some really good throws because he's a gunslinger, that Brett Favre type that you like that says, you know what, I'm going to make a play right here on that big third down when they're on their own 10 or 15-yard line in overtime to drive down and get the winning field goal. You're at home again. You played home last week. You showed an MO for playing some decent football here, Jimmy, at home, even with the Steelers, who I thought they were actually outplayed in the opening game versus the Steelers. But hey, final score is going to tell you the indicator. They were at least able to come up with a tie versus the Steelers. This line does look a little bit short to me, but there's got to be some reasons behind it. Defense playing well for the Cleveland Browns. They didn't play well versus the Oakland Raiders, and they should have beaten the Oakland Raiders, which is maybe the reason why this line is staying low. It looks too easy early in the week for me to jump on the Chargers at this point because I do think they're overall the better team here. But Cleveland's got a little bit something cooking. I just wish they had a different coach. And the one screenshot that I'll take away from this weekend with the Cleveland Browns in overtime after both teams got possessions, it turns into sudden death. To have your head football coach have absolutely no idea you just won the game after the field goal because there was 2 seconds left and you thought you had to kick off again. That shows you what I think about it. Look, early in the week, I'll go square and think the Chargers have a shot here, but that line is really, really short for a reason here, Jimmy.
I feel you. Total open at 46. Now a couple of 44s. Noli knows, a great guy, a great capper we have on Lobeck Show all the time. Very good with totals and loves unders. He's on the Chargers, Browns under here. What do you think about this total at 44, Donnie?
Yeah, the MO right now of Cleveland, it looks like if you're going to play a team with some decent defense on the opposite side, they can match you bow for bow. But also, you're looking at a little bit cooler conditions here, no longer 70s or 80s. Looks like this game's going to be played somewhere in the mid-50s to high 40s here. So a little bit of a change. Maybe you get some wind out there off the lakes in Cleveland to push that. But the way Cleveland plays, outside of like that Raiders game where it's just going to be up and down the field, you saw the way they played versus the Ravens. I can picture more of a game because when I look from the Chargers' MO, they're going to want to run the football. Phillip Rivers is a good passer, but they're not a huge, big play type offense. And I think Cleveland's going to be able to play a little defense. I'll lean on the under in that situation. You're going to go, look, it opened up at 46. Now all of a sudden seeing 44.5. I might be looking a little bit at the under in this situation, Jimmy.
I can understand that. Moshe Bogarat as well. Under. Browns D stepped up at home. And Teddy B says, Jimmy, please show my Vikings love for going into Philly and beating Donnie's Eagles when no one gave us a chance. And yes, Teddy, very impressive showing by your Vikings. I think you will hear from these Eagles again. But the Vikings are playing good football, and we're all together on backing them against this terrible Cardinals team coming up. Mm-hmm. And Marco Lou was on the Vikings +3 last night. So you weren't alone, Teddy. You weren't alone, my friend, but congratulations on your team's success. And Anil Frank says, smells like the Denver line last week. Yes, I feel that. Yeah. And James Pomeroy says, I would 100% buy your porno, by the way, Jimmy.
Oh, there you go. That's a little bit of extra money you can get in there, Jimmy. See that? Maybe
Nothing
maybe
wrong
this
with extra
businesses
money.
you can expand out. Sure.
Last week, I got killed. I could use the money, James Pomeroy. It might have to be a solo performance, though. Will that bother you at all?
Okay, it won't bother me. I'll turn the camera off here for us, and you can have at it.
Okay, we'll keep rolling. We'll keep rolling. Bears at Dolphins. Bears open up -1, now -3s across the board. A lot of people on the Loshak show yesterday were interested in the Dolphins here. I can't be, and I won't be. Laramie Tunsil is in concussion protocol. I'd love you to touch on concussion protocol briefly if you can, Donnie, because it just seems like everybody's always good to go the following week, and should we not take too much into it? And I'd be curious about what you have to say about that. But first off, if Tunsil is not able to go, the Dolphins are in big, big trouble. Sitton and Kilgore out for the year. This is the wrong team to play against with an injured O-line. Khalil Mack could have a field day, keep the strip sack streak alive. That's what I might call my individual porno, strip sack. Cam Wake couldn't go last week with a knee injury. As I don't know if you know this, Donnie, but Wake is my favorite player. BC Lion, Defensive Player of the Year up in Canada. I fell in love with Cam Wake. Bears coming off a bye week. Bears are healthy other than Amu Kamara. Howard needs a bounce-back game. Did Trubisky silence his haters? I am one of them. And I don't know. Did he side? There's so much I can't wait to hear what you break down in this game. Bears at Dolphins. This total, you can get anywhere from 41.5 to 43, and it's -3s across the board for the Bears. Donnie, what are you thinking here?
Yeah, look, I mean, you're early out when you see a team that's going to have the bye week. The last time you saw them, they were extremely hot. Now, you played the Tampa Bay defense, so what do you actually get out of Mitchell Trubisky now going back on the road? You didn't get a lot out of him when you saw him against the Cardinals. Now we're going to shift gears and go down to Miami. The interesting thing is sometimes you like to play, devil's advocate, because you're only seeing about 26% of the public opening up betting the Miami Dolphins as a home dog. -3, -125 at Chris, -3, -120 at Intertop. So it looks like it's trending more to get to 3.5. The question I have for you here is, if you really watch the football game versus the Bengals, who are a pretty good football team, Miami dominated that football team for 3.5 quarters. And if it wasn't for two offensive miscues that gave the Cincinnati Bengals 14 points the other way, what would your outlook be when you look at the Miami Dolphins? Let's just say the Dolphins held on and won this game 24-0. Would everybody be jumping on the Miami Dolphins saying, man, they're a really good football team? They righted the ship. It's no shame in going in New England and get beat, because everybody goes into New England and gets beat. They go on the road and beat a quality, early season football team in the Cincinnati Bengals. I think there's some value here on the Miami Dolphins just from a contrarian perspective, because I'm still waiting on Mitchell Trubisky. I loved what he showed versus Tampa Bay. He was slinging it around, 6 touchdown passes. We know that Chicago Bears defense can get after it, but now you go down to Miami, you're playing a little bit of muggy heat down there. Miami has played good football at home, already winning their first 2 games. Now you come back in a must-win situation, it seems like, if you're the Miami Dolphins. And again, if you're going to wait on this line and get 3.5, I'm going to try to build a case to take the Miami Dolphins this weekend, Jimmy.
I understand that. And that was sort of the sentiment from the low baggers. And the total at 41.5 to 43, where are you leaning there?
Probably more likely on, again, it's hard. Look, what are we looking at, Jimmy? 42, 42.5. You have to have everything go. And even when it goes your way, like we talked about that Arizona game versus the 49ers, even when every single thing goes your way, you can have a 2-minute, 3-minute stretch that just blows the top off your cover of getting that. So if you're going to hang a line at me at 42, I'm automatically going to start taking a look at the over, just because it's almost egregious that you should be able to get that, but more ways than not, it doesn't happen. So I'll lean on the over just for that fact alone in the NFL.
Understandably so. Theodore McIntosh saying Dolphins or are pretenders. Teddy B, fade the fish. Bill Butler, though, Dolphins D steps up and shuts down the whole Bears passing game. Armin on the Bears. Rainman says wait on Dolphins. Just like you said, this line will get to 3.5. David Hutton, Bears defense will handle Miami. Scotty Rock forever, our man, giving telling people to hit the like button. Thank you, Scotty Rock. Much love to you. And then a bunch of guys on the under. Bill Butler, under. Noli knows, leaning under here as well. Mario Martinez, Bears, Dolphins, under 43. King Rail saying, I was high on the Bears before the season started. I'm really liking this team. Young quarterback can rely on his D. Feels no pressure. Only downside to me is he reminds me of Alex Smith and John Roy. John Roy, I don't know if you get the pleasure of running with John Roy on your show. We have the pleasure of running with him on Low Shack in the Back, and he works at Soldier Field. And we love his insight on the field conditions. He says, funny money on Dolphins +3, and I agree. Bears fat and happy. They're thinking Super Bowl in Chicago. Wow. What do you think of some of those comments?
Yeah, look at that. I mean, people were thinking, Miami Dolphins were in the Super Bowl when they were, 3-0 in the season. A lot of weeks can change, but also, yeah, younger quarterback going on the road. You didn't necessarily like what you saw from before. The Dolphins have a better defense, obviously. I think we can agree, than the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But look, going on the road in the NFL, it's hard to get wins, man. Like, I was wrong on Sunday. I thought the Rams would go up and put up 35 points in Seattle, and they would laugh at that meek Seattle offense. But you look at the game, it came down to a 4th down and 1 where the Rams went for it to clinch the football game and almost got beat. You see it time and time again. Even though the Vikings were the better team versus the Philadelphia Eagles, getting a lot of bounces go their way, it came down to an onside kick at the end of the game, which bounced off Adam Thielen, which could very easily have went to the Eagles and drove down to kick a field goal, and they had no business winning that football game. Quirky things happen when you go on the road, and it's hard to win. And now you're going to say Bears go on the road, and theoretically pushing that line to 3.5, you're going to have to win by a touchdown on the road against a team that's played pretty well at home.
So a couple of things. I know that we don't have a ton of time on our Tuesday shows, but I'd love to hear you touch on this. One, John Roy says, week before bye for the Dolphins, definitely over. How do you think teams react when they know they're about to have a bye week, one? And two, can you touch on the concussion protocol? Is it fair for us not to be concerned when a player that we think is crucially important is in concussion protocol?
Yeah, the good thing about concussion protocol nowadays, Jimmy, is you get a lot more information back than what you used to, at least maybe 5-6 years ago, because now there's different stages to concussion protocol. We used to just hear in the back, oh, he has a concussion, we'll see how he does. But now the protocols have to be released. Like, is he allowed out on the practice field with his helmet? Is he past the concussion test? Is he in stage 2? You can get a really good feel of who's actually going to play in concussions, where it used to be the Wild Wild West a couple years ago where you just said, hey, he's not practicing. Well, how far actually is along? And nobody would talk. You actually know the stages throughout the week. So if you're reading, and I'm really big on practice reports, limited participation, but has he cleared the next step? You can read the coaches like, yeah, we expect him to be out there Sunday. He's progressing nightly. And sometimes this guy has a concussion. They just say, like Kevin Johnson for Houston, he's out for like 6 months. Like, we're not even going to let him back in there. Usually if I see a guy who hasn't had a concussion yet this year go into concussion protocol, if he was able to walk off the field and get diagnosed, they're usually good to go the next week, because athletes are athletes, especially in the NFL. They're going to tell you they feel a lot better than they do, and they'll probably put themselves back on the field quicker. But it's nice to have that information now, Jimmy, to always keep track of, are they out there? They have their helmet on? Are they working? Are they progressing? It's not as bad as it used to be, where you just had to take a guess to see if they would get back out there.
Oh, that's great information. Thank you for that, Donnie. And secondly, what do you think of John Roy saying take the overs before an NFL team goes on a bye? Is that a trend or something that you look at?
Yeah, no, I don't really look at anything like that, but I just look at like situations there. Like, I don't know if you can pretend or try to say you have a really good angle, like an over-under. More likely the side in that situation, because if you're the Miami Dolphins and you're going to go on a bye, do you want a 3-game losing streak heading into your bye? Your coach might make you practice during that bye week there if you go in. You better get that win, because everybody feels a lot better, and it's always, victory Monday or Tuesday, or say, hey, we have a bye week. We'll see you in 6 days, as opposed to you better get your ass in here on Tuesday, because you got to rehab and we got to watch film. We lost 3 in a row. So maybe you can buy into something where they really want to have this game, because if you go in with a 3-game losing streak, not a lot of good feelings to stew around on for the next 2 weeks.
I like that. And Ron Walsek says teams looking forward to a bye week have caveats of an extra day off and are a great bet. I'm a big fan of Ron Walsek. Love the guy. And just to put a final bow on this Bears-Dolphins game, Anil Frank says Bears are too comfortable after a big win coming out of a bye. They shredded a terrible defense at home. And Quinn Rivera, I'm from Chicago. I just can't get used to laying points with the Bears, especially on the road.
Yeah.
That is a really good point, Quinn. I can completely understand your discomfort in that. Let's keep rolling. Panthers at Redskins, opened at Redskins -1. Now Pick'ems. What an atrocious performance that the Redskins put on last night. Embarrassing. I was saying that this is the healthiest their defense has been in so long. When Kerrigan had that sack on 3rd down when it was 13-6, I was like, okay, let's get the momentum. And then, of course, there's the flag, unnecessary roughness from their safety. And then they were terrible. Smith looked so bad, hanging on the ball for too long and immediately looking at his checkdowns, not even looking out for the big play. It looked like the Saints could do whatever they please. Chris Thompson ran 8 times for 17 yards. Adrian Peterson now has a dislocated shoulder. Too many injuries at wide receiver. But the Panthers were torched by the Giants. The Norris Searcy injury hurts, but they should have easily disposed, to me, a struggling Giants team. They seem to always play down to their level of competition. One thing I said about the Panthers at the beginning of the year was I never know what we're going to get year in and year out from this team. Are they going to be a dominant presence, or are they not going to make the playoffs? It's so difficult for me to figure them out. And here's another very tough situation. Total open at 45, stayed there. Redskins -1 now. Pick'ems, Panthers at Redskins. What do you see here, Donnie?
Yeah, Captain Dink and Dunk last night, Alex Smith. I thought he could probably keep it close. I thought they were coming off the bye, getting a little bit healthy, but you saw the MO of the game right away. I didn't have a bet necessarily on the football game, but if you were watching as it went, a lot of calls went against the Redskins early. And you know as well as I do, Jimmy, if you get off the field early, you have a couple 3-and-outs, or you stop New Orleans early, you get a little bit of excitement on your side saying, hey, look, we can really get behind this. But if you're not going to call any penalties on the New Orleans Saints and call everything against Washington, it went downhill really fast. What was interesting? You saw a lot of guys get banged up. I mean, Adrian Peterson looked like he blew his knee out and tore his shoulder off. And after the game, he said, yeah, I'm straight. No big deal. I'm going to have an MRI, and I'll be out there next week. I mean, this guy is literally bionic, which is amazing. Thompson gets hurt late in this football game, the ultimate swing pass catcher out of the backfield. We'll see if he goes this week. I did see Vernon Davis getting dinged up as well. Quick turnaround coming home. But the one thing you like if you're going to try to build a case here for the Washington Redskins is it fits their MO with the Carolina Panthers. Carolina's not really an all-out aerial assault. Carolina would rather play a game in the 20s, which is exactly what the Washington Redskins would rather do than, as you saw last night, get into a shootout with a quarterback that doesn't throw the football more than 15 feet. If you saw the Washington Redskins down 3 touchdowns in the second half and wondered why Alex Smith kept throwing to his running backs out of the backfield for 3- and 4-yard gains while New Orleans was laughing at the fact that 4, 5, 6 minutes were being burned off the clock and you're moving 30 yards, that is Alex Smith in a nutshell for his entire career. But he can play well against the Carolina Panthers because they're going to want to keep it a little bit lower scoring. You get Thomas Davis back here off a suspension for Carolina, one of the team leaders. I think Carolina overall is the better team. It was interesting because while the game was going on last night, you saw some lines -1, -2 in the favor for Carolina, but now you're seeing -1, maybe some -1.5 might be popping up across the board for Washington. Again, it's hard to win on the road. I think Carolina overall is the better football team, but if you're looking at both of these teams' styles, Washington can hang around because they're not going to ask Alex Smith to shoot it out with Cam Newton. It'll be an interesting one, but right now, trying to build a case here to take Carolina because I think they are overall the better team here.
I agree completely. Brent Hunt says Panthers looking good, Jimmy, especially at a pick'em. Rainman Carolina look-ahead line was -2.5. And then talking about this line move that doesn't make a lot of sense. Theodore McIntosh says, stay off this shit show of a football game. I mean, maybe that's the easiest way to handle things. But I agree with you. I'd like to take the Panthers here. Don't understand why the line is moving away from them. But I guess you don't want to take a Panthers on the road here. I find this game very tricky. What do you think about the total that opened up at 45?
Yeah, look, I mean, the way these two teams like to play football, it's not more about shots downfield. You have two athletic quarterbacks, which usually you would say, like, wait a minute, Donnie, you have two athletic quarterbacks that can run around and make plays outside the pocket. That usually means when you see Alex Smith, he would rather run for the 5-yard gain than maybe throw a 20-yard pass to see what's going to happen downfield, a flag, an incomplete pass that stops the clock. These two quarterbacks are more likely to pick up that 3rd and 3 running, which keeps the chains moving, which keeps the clock moving. This has more of an under feel to me with the way these two teams like to match up. I'll lean on the under in this one. If it sits around we have 45.5 across the board. I think you get a little bit of a slugfest here on defense here to try to calm it down.
Yeah, I think that's a great breakdown. Let's keep rolling along. Colts at Jets. Well, count me in believing in Andrew Luck. I've loved the way he's looked. I know they got lost by 2 touchdowns, but I was very impressed with him. Jets open at -3, now mostly -2.5. Total open at 45.5, now 45. Colts lost to the Pats on Thursday night. They have extra rest and extra time to plan. And as I said, Luck looked good. He's starting to develop something special with Eric Ebron. Offensive line injuries to Slauson and Haig hurt. Defense has injuries to Autry, Walker, Leonard, Moore, and Gathers. Sam Darnold is not Tom Brady, but man, they destroyed the Broncos. Is it more the Jets are good or the Broncos are bad? Jets are a pretty healthy squad, just Tremaine Johnson hurt. I've spoken on this show week after week about believing in this Jets defense. We had a lot of low-baggers who were on the Jets very impressively. Well, shout out to Dom Ricci, who was all over the Jets. This is a tough spot. Crowell, 15 carries for 219 yards. Robbie Anderson, who I've said is not a number one, 3 catches for 123 yards. I'm leaning towards the Colts here, Donnie. I can't wait to hear what you have to say. Colts at Jets.
Yeah, I mean, if you like the Colts here, you like the advantage. They played on a Thursday night game versus New England Patriots, lost. Now a chance to get healthy. The key here really a lot is going to be some of the guys coming back for injury, Jimmy, for the Indianapolis Colts. If you're going to bet this football game, you damn well better know if T.Y. Hilton is going to play in this game to try to open up the offense from Indianapolis' side. But I have to say, I rewatched that Jets-Denver Broncos game, and the more I watch it, Jimmy, the more impressed I was with the New York Jets. Sam Darnold is playing really good football. I mean, he didn't throw for 350 yards or make an impression that way, but when he needed to make the big throw, and sometimes, and look, we see young quarterbacks and even veteran quarterbacks miss that deep shot where you have a guy that has 3 or 4 steps and you overthrow him or you underthrow him. He hit that one on a dot. He also hit Robbie Anderson on another dime in the end zone from a deep ball. He made some really good plays, but the thing I was even more impressed with was the secondary for the New York Jets. They're fast, they're physical, they tackle, they come up, and they were also without their best cornerback in that football game. And then you flip it over from the offensive side of the football. They were mean, they were nasty. That's a pretty good front seven that you're pushing around for the Denver Broncos and running and doing whatever you wanted to that football team. That's going to play into it here. Now, look, Indianapolis has played some pretty good run defense over the past couple weeks of the season. They're going to be rested and ready, and you're not in the typical same situation where you had, depending on where you're shopping, Denver -1 in that game, the Jets -1. You're asking now the New York Jets to cover by 3, opens up 3.5 with some juice, 2.5 mostly in outlets here, -110, -112. But early in the week, I want to take the Jets. I really, really am impressed with the Jets are bringing to the table right now.
Concerning. That concerns me. Greg Sherman saying Luck is great in garbage time, but Quinn Rivera saying I like Luck with the points. Kind of like a Phillip Rivers light, never gives up, usually keeps things close. And Neil Frank saying all those damn drop balls by Colts wide receivers, can't trust them without T.Y. But Bill Butler saying Jets D is better than Pats D. Luck won't be able to throw on us like he did on the Pats. Jets match up very well versus the Colts receiving core. Colts will struggle. What do you think about the total at 45.5, now 45?
Yeah, nothing has really shown me from the Indianapolis Colts, Jimmy, that they really want to press the issue and shoot it out with football teams. And I think if you ask the Jets deep down with Todd Bowles being their head coach, they would much rather play fast and physical, run the football on offense. Don't put your rookie quarterback in bad situations. And if T.Y. Hilton's going to be banged up and you can't take the lid off of the Jets defense, even if he plays, look, man, he's a fast, quick guy. He's going to rely on hamstring, for most of that football game. And if that's a little bit dinged up, I look for more of a, passing offense, short and to the point, running the football in this game. I would probably lean towards the under here. Just the way I see the Colts play their season, I just think it leans more to an under. And again, the Jets aren't going to push the issue and say, let's shoot it out and score 35 points. So,
yeah, great breakdown. Marquee matchup. Everybody loves Steelers at Bengals for many, many reasons. I love this matchup year in, year out. Bengals open at -3, now -2.5, a couple twos. You said it perfectly. They were outplayed for 3.5 quarters. I was very lucky to cover with the Bengals last week. Total opened up at 54.5. It keeps going down. There's a couple 52.5s on the board, a lot of 53s. Steelers have some issues on the O-line. DeCastro and Marcus Gilbert hurt. DeCastro injury is a big deal. Bengals are at home with a better defense. The Steelers have firepower on offense, but no defense. I've loved the way Mixon looked. Guy, he's fast and he can run right through people. He seems like an excellent, excellent option for this Bengals offense. What do you think, Donnie? Big game, Steelers at Bengals.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting game because, right away it opens your eyes that, hey, man, the Steelers are getting points. You can jump on them. A couple weeks ago, when you're trying to take long flyers on the season, I thought the Steelers had a little bit of value in that division, winning the division before they played Tampa Bay Buccaneers, ended up winning that football game. When you take a look at the Steelers, look, their defense is much maligned, but it's actually getting better as we go. The Cleveland game, they played decent, but it was a rainstorm. Is it any shame getting lit up by the Kansas City Chiefs or lit up when Tampa Bay when they were running hot? They played okay against Baltimore, and they played a really good game against the Atlanta Falcons, getting a lot of pressure up front. If they can somehow cut down on the boneheaded penalties, not even pass interferences. I'm just talking about sacking the quarterback and getting personal fouls left and right on themselves. I think there is a little bit of value because, again, you're looking at the Cincinnati Bengals through a sort of different spectrum here, saying, all right, they're at home, they're favorites again, they're expected to win. They should have got blown out against the Miami Dolphins in that football game. That was the Dolphins' fault on offense of letting that get away with 14 defensive points in the fourth quarter going against them. I think the Steelers are going to start to catch their stride. And I know you said earlier, the offensive line, they're getting healthy now. All 5 of those offensive linemen should be able to play in this football game again. Connor has shown some resilience. The running game is back for the Steelers. Obviously, we know they have 2 good wide receivers. I think their much maligned defense is actually getting a little bit better here, and I think there is some value on the Steelers. I'm going to look to take the Steelers. I would love, if anyway, I don't think it's going to happen, that Cincinnati would go to -3 at home. I would take Pittsburgh +3 in this football game if it can get there. Early in the week, looking towards the Steelers, I'm a little bit higher on the Steelers than most people out there.
And do you understand the total market movement from 54.5 down 1.5 or 2 points? Do you understand why they're going towards the under?
I don't see why they're going to it. Only thing I can think of is there's supposed to be a little bit of a cold streak coming in. So you're going to get, mid-50s temperature in that range. That's the only thing I can think of. And again, you're talking about 2 divisional teams that know each other really well. Those tend to stay under as opposed to those, you see the Atlanta Falcons coming from the NFC to the AFC where they don't really know each other so much. But these 2 teams hate each other. There's going to be some cheap shots in this football game. And both of these teams should know exactly what each other does on offense. That usually tends to be an under type situation for me.
I like it. Great breakdown. Dom Ricci joining us now. Gave him a shout out for that Jets call. He was very confident. When Dom is that confident about a New York team, it's best just to tail. Let's keep rolling. Buccaneers at Falcons. Falcons opened up -3.5. Total opened at 57.5. Bucs coming off the bye week. Falcons season might be over. Can't believe I'm saying that, but it might be over. Their offense is healthy and firing, but such a decimated defense. Dan Quinn's worst nightmare. Grady Jarrett, Deion Jones, Ricardo Allen, Keanu Neal. So sad adding Jarrett to that mix. Now, with the Bucs, O.J. Howard, who's a beast, expected to miss 2 to 4 weeks with an MCL sprain. Who sucked, more? Jameis Winston or the Falcons defense? While they both suck, I think Winston may suck more. I don't know if his teammates like him either. They rallied around Fitzpatrick. They believed in Fitzpatrick. Now they have Vernon Hargraves, Chris Conte injuries in the secondary. I lean Falcons here. What do you think, Donnie?
No, I do like the Falcons here. The one interesting thing is you're looking at a really high over-under 57.5. And I just sometimes I would just wish Jameis Winston was suspended 8 games instead of 4 games or whatever the suspension was for him, because if Fitzpatrick played in this game, it would be like a pinball machine down there in Atlanta with just teams throwing deep, caution to the wind. Nobody can stop anybody. But you still see, and you say, Jameis Winston, what are we actually going to get out of him this week? Coming off the suspension. But you did have the week off the bye to get ingratiated back to the team. But is he going to take shots like Fitzpatrick? Fitzpatrick doesn't give a damn. Oh, look, a 40-yard play in the triple coverage? Yeah, 3 things can happen. Interception, big catch, or a flag, or an incomplete pass, and the clock stops and you keep moving on. I love boomer bust quarterbacks. I want to see if Jameis Winston can step into there. But as I said last week again, which is why I love the Pittsburgh Steelers, the Atlanta Falcons are built for turf with that offense. They're now healthy at running back with a 3-headed monster. Hooper has emerged as a pretty good tight end aspect. You still have Julio Jones and Ridley on opposite sides, Mohamed Sanu. And the way you attack Tampa Bay, they have a pretty athletic front 7. They're going to be able to get a little bit of a pass rush on Matt Ryan. But who the heck is defending on the back end? It should be an aerial assault from Atlanta in this football game. And if you can hopefully maybe something triggers it back down, because it's -3, -120 at Chris. I actually like Atlanta in the spot, even though I think their season is technically over here. It's still a division game. They're still going to be at home. They're built for turf. I think they can rebound and win this one here.
I agree, but not all of us do. D Bankroll says, why they put 3.5 on the Falcons? They must be smoking some of that good. I'd like the Falcons here. I do, and I'm going to take them, and I'm going to back them. Let's keep rolling. We got a few games left and not a lot of time. Seahawks at Raiders. Open Seahawks -1, now -3s. Total open at 47. It's up 47.5 and 48. Did the Rams take the Seahawks lightly? Maybe the Seahawks are better off without Thomas. I can't believe I'm saying that, but his attitude clearly wasn't good. Maybe getting him out of the dressing room helps. Seahawks have no pass protection, but the Raiders have no pass rush. Can the Raiders get enough pressure on Wilson? Their defense is terrible. Mack and Bowman provided leadership. Why is Bowman sitting at home waiting for a phone call? Is it because Gruden doesn't like being challenged by anyone? Is Gruden's ego getting in the way of what could have been a better team? Derek Carr, Cooper are inconsistent. Is Carr even a leader? Jordy Nelson is past his prime. Lynch is actually playing better than I expected. Seahawks at Raiders. I like the Seahawks here.
It's an interesting one because it's going to be played in London at Wembley. We all know how, for some reason, when teams go over there, they can never quite get the surface right. It's usually like the grass is real slippery for players, which could be a problem because both of these teams don't have a great pass rush to begin with. Maybe Russell Wilson can make some plays. The one interesting thing last week, if you watched that Rams-Seattle game, Seattle had no answer for the Rams, which I know a lot of people don't, but the Rams did whatever they wanted to. They lost two of their best wide receivers and still moved the football up and down the field at will. They settled for a field goal on like the half-inch yard line. They threw an interception in the end zone, talking about the Rams, but the Rams marched up and down the field. But Seattle also did the same thing versus the Los Angeles Rams. That was on turf. This one's going to be on grass at Wembley. Looking at this game coming in, can you trust Oakland? I mean, look, you're right about it. If you're going to need a playmaker to make a play, Russell Wilson can usually make that play unless he's just absolutely under siege like he was in the game versus the Chicago Bears. But in this game, Oakland's pass rush isn't nearly as good as the Chicago Bears. He should have time in the pocket to make plays. They seemingly found something last week. You can run a little bit of a read option or RPO look with Russell Wilson and get away with it. Oakland's defense stinks. To me, I hate Seattle. I think they stink as a football team. But I'm not trusting the Raiders as far as I can throw them right now because I don't trust their offense, and I certainly don't trust their defense whatsoever at this point. It would be Seattle or nothing, but probably won't be in play in this game since it is overseas at Wembley here. I don't see that much of an advantage either way.
I hear that. Always tricky when it's across the pond. And the total up to 48. Any edge there, do you think?
Look, when I'm looking at I think last week was an anomaly there. When I'm looking at the Raiders, like the Raiders offense says, I think they can put up points because they're pretty talented. And you just like David Carr needs to throw the interceptions on his side of the field, like at his own 20 that sets up points. He just makes awful decisions in the red zone, just throwing just poor interceptions. Those kill it there. But look, if the Raiders are involved in a football game, I'm going to look over because their defense stinks. And David Carr can make some pretty impressive throws with some weapons, but you just want those bad interceptions to go back 6 the other way or in your own territory. I always lean over when I'm looking at the Raiders at this point.
I hear you, but it bit me. Got me right in the old brown eye last week. Bills at Texans, open Texans minus 8.5. A lot of books don't have it on the board. The total is off the board right now. Bills have looked terrible except against very good football teams. Bills played well against the Titans. I beat that market move by 2.5 points and still lost. Offensively, they still do nothing. That defensive performance was done without Micah Hyde. Deshaun Watson day-to-day, but we expect them to play. They need to find ways to protect them better. Lamar Miller not playing well, is injured. J.J. Watt looking better each week. They haven't picked up Clowney's option, which is interesting. Aaron Colvin injury will hurt. He's a steadying influence. Bills at Texans. Let's not take too much time on it because it's not available in most books. But what are you thinking here? Any early feels?
Yeah, if you're going to give me a touchdown, I'm taking the Bills all day long. I mean, there's a disconnect right now with the Houston Texans. I mean, we've been waiting long enough in the season for them to wake up and really get it going on offense, but their head football coach is inept. Obviously, the quarterback is not being coached up appropriately because he's not making the right reads and the right plays. I know he's athletic. I know he gets outside the pocket, and that should mean big plays, but something just is not materializing for the Houston Texans on offense right now. So if you're going to ask them to cover more than a touchdown here, it's going to be all Bills for me. I don't even like the Bills that much. I don't like their offense. Their defense is very mediocre, but the disconnect on the Houston Texans right now is too much for me to ask if that line is 7 or more to be able to back the Houston Texans. If I get 7 or more in that game, it will be only Bills the way I'm looking here, Jimmy.
My man David Hutton agrees. Low scoring means Houston giving up too many points. Bill Butler, Bills will replicate their win at Minnesota. D Bankroll trap game. I don't think Bills will score. Moshe Bogarat, why isn't this game up at most books? And it has to be Deshaun Watson? Is that why it's not
Watson,
up?
yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, he's banged up with a chest injury. He looks like he's going to go, but they're always extra cautious when you're dealing with the quarterback.
Definitely. Let's keep rolling. Not a lot of time left. Rams at Broncos. Open Rams -7. Total open at 52.5. Initially, I lean Rams and lean under. I think the Rams will bounce back. Clearly, they took the Seahawks lightly. I don't expect that to happen 2 weeks in a row. Cooks and Kupp, each in concussion protocol, but they should play. The Talib loss is big. Peters had a particularly bad game. Looks like he's playing hurt. The Broncos will likely be able to expose them like the Seahawks did. But in saying that, Demaryius Thompson is playing awful. He was once uncoverable. Now he seems like the drop king. The rookie running backs look good. Broncos looked awful against the Jets. Did the shorter week hurt them that badly? This is a tough spot, but I think the Rams bounce back. What do you think here, Donnie?
It's an interesting one. Normally I would like that, Jimmy, but then I look at the weather conditions, snow in the forecast, and 27 degrees for sunshine in the California boys out there. Are they the better team? Can they lean on Todd Gurley? Yes, they can, but I'm not interested. Again, something is broken with that Rams defense, which I don't know if they could correct it in the week, going back-to-back road games, and you're playing in an awful condition. Look, they're high-flying the Rams. So let's just say it's cold and concussion protocol with Cooks and Kupp. One or maybe both of them sit this football game out. I think the Broncos can keep it close here at home, and the weather conditions can only slow down a high-octane offense. 7 is too much for me if you're going to give me 25 degrees and some snow up in Denver this week.
Wow, that was very well put. And in very short time, you took me off the Rams. Impressive. And we'll be breaking these games down all week. As you know, we're back here Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern. Wow, great points, Donnie. Great breakdown.
It's interesting, yeah, because, I mean, if it was 75 degrees in Denver, I might have a completely different outcome, but freezing cold weather conditions, not really good for the Rams at this point, and they are coming in a little bit banged up here.
They are. Bobby Mills saying, who is D. Thompson? I was saying Demaryius Thomas. Let's keep rolling. Jaguars at Cowboys. Open Jags -1, now -3. Total open at 41.5, now mostly 40.5. I have some interest in the over, but you just can't trust these quarterbacks. Jaguars look terrible against the Chiefs. Does the defense of the Jaguars doubt themselves a bit now? Bortles is just bad. Fournette won't be available again this week. The Jags' run defense can stop the Cowboys. If you have a good run defense, the Cowboys really aren't a threat. Sean Lee won't be available, but Van Der Esch is playing very well. Jaguars at Cowboys. What do you think here, Donnie?
Yeah, I mean, what do you want to take out of that game last week? I mean, Jacksonville was just about outclassed in every situation. But you say, hey, man, Blake Bortles threw for over 400 yards. Yeah, but he's road Blake Bortles, which throws interception after interception after interception. And one play that you want to encapsulate just what Blake Bortles does on the road, throws the football off his own player's head for an interception in the end zone. That is road Blake Bortles. Seems to me like these two teams on offense are going to pillow fight this weekend to get after it. Look at the over-under, Jimmy, a 40 across the board in a dome. There's going to be no weather conditions, no rain, no wind, no snow in this one, and they're hanging a 40, and for good reason. Both of these quarterbacks extremely poor when having to deliver the football. Not a lot of weapons on either side, and Dallas Cowboys defense is playing pretty well. We all know what Jacksonville can bring to the table. Not so sure about a side, but I think it will be low scoring. To take an under 40 is ludicrous in the NFL, and I'm looking that way because both of these offenses are horrific, man.
They are horrific, and the Cowboys offense is so easy to stop. The Jaguars offense, to me, is still a bit of a question mark. They're going to get Fournette back at some point. He will help enormously, but Bortles just looking bad. We need to keep rolling. Not a lot of time left. Ravens at Titans. Opened at a pick'em. Now mostly Ravens -3, a couple 2.5s. Total at 41. Titans continue like they have for the last 3 years to either play down or up to their competition. Always going to be a close game with them. They have a good offensive line. So why is their run game not better? I can't understand this, Donnie. It seems like they have two perfect guys for the system in Henry and then Lewis. Change of pace back. I can't understand why it's not better, especially with the Walker injury. You'd think that they'd be hammering this run game nonstop. They don't seem to. Corey Davis is heating up. There's nothing wrong with the Ravens. The Browns just don't suck anymore. It's pretty simple. Browns and Ravens are maybe a tiny bit above average teams. I don't think there's anything wrong with the Ravens. I like the Titans here. I like the Titans. I'm surprised that I think they're being a little disrespected off of the Bills loss. What do you think here, Ravens at Titans?
I like where you're going on this because the MO would be correct. When you look at the Titans, they always play close games. So, I mean, they're going to be in this football game. They're going to play well at home. They bring a good defense to the table. But the one caveat I have is I think it's kind of interesting when you look at it. I think Baltimore is a better version of Tennessee overall. But when you look at the line move, like, hey, look, if you jumped in right away and got them at a pick 'em or -1 for Baltimore, you're saying, good, give me a field goal, give me a win, get me out of here. I can see that. But I like your point of view, Jimmy. You're Tennessee, you're at home. You're getting 3 points, and your MO is we're going to play some defense. We're going to play it tough. Let's see if Marcus Mariota can pull it out in the end and maybe make some plays, because he made one play to a wide receiver last week that they dropped. They should have won that football game in Buffalo. That was a tough spot for them to go in an overtime game at home. Now you go up to Buffalo and come back home. I can see your point of view. I think the Ravens are a better team and can probably win this football game, but I can't fault you if you're going to take the Titans at home in this one, Jimmy, just because the simple fact is their MO is no matter what happens out there, we're going to play you close.
I agree. I think so. Brent Hunt also likes the under. Can you touch on that quickly, because we still have 2 games to get through in only about 4 minutes? What do you think of the under here, Ravens-Titans, just 41?
Yeah, look, Baltimore on the road here. They didn't show me a lot of excitement last week, and I think we could both agree the Tennessee Titans offense, there's not a lot of excitement in that one either. Mobile quarterback that can run around and make a few plays to extend drives. It's crazy in this card. Everything, a single thing I'm looking at seems to be the under, but look, 41. These teams' MOs right now isn't shoot it out, and Tennessee's going to play it close to the vest. Why not take another under here?
Yeah, I've been hearing that a lot on this card, but understandably so. Let's let my man Scotty Rock lead us into the next game. Chiefs money line plus 160. He says, write it down. I promise you, Tom Brady and co. get beat. Open Patriots minus 3.5. Total open at 58, now 59. 59, Donnie. 59. There will not be a lot of defense. Justin Houston has a hamstring injury. Have to keep an eye on him. Eric Berry not close to coming back. Chiefs stomped on the Pats early last year. Belichick is a psychopath that never forgets. Sonny Michel is playing great. That helps so much. When I first started breaking this game down, I thought, man, Sonny Michel playing great. Maybe the Patriots can control the clock a bit, not let Mahomes on the field. But a lot of people thinking that's crazy talk, liking the over even if it was over 60. What do you think here, Chiefs at Patriots?
Look, the MO with the New England Patriots is when they're at home, it's going to be 3.5. You just don't go into New England and beat the New England Patriots. But then again, you saw opening week last week with Alex Smith, or opening season last year, game 1. The New England Patriots open up versus the Kansas City Chiefs and get swallowed by that football team. Who's stopping anybody here? What pass rush is going to get after it? There is going to be everybody wide open. Third down conversion after third down conversion. An over-under, Jimmy, that could approach 60. When is the last time we saw a 60 in the NFL? Still working on this game. If I had to bet it right now, it's hard to overcome and say, you know what, New England's at home and now finally getting healthy and they're laying about a 3 spot on the board. These are the spots that the New England Patriots usually show up and play extremely well. But then again, who has stopped the Kansas City Chiefs? The over-under at 59, I could picture a shootout. I could picture a similar situation like the Eagles and the Patriots in the Super Bowl. 41-33, nobody stopping anybody. What's not to like and have fun? Glad it's on Sunday night so we can all watch and enjoy this. But early on in the week, trying to build that case for New England here.
Interesting and very exciting. Nolly knows taking the under. Pats, Chiefs. We have 1 game left, but I have this sick joy out of unders. I have a sick joy out of taking the unders in basketball, cheering for bricks. I have this sickness inside of me that just watches the clock go down. I'm going to try to not get carried away here. We have 1 game left. Quickly touch on it. We've got to go. 49ers at Packers, the Monday Nighter. Packers open minus 10, now mostly 9.5. Total open at 46.5. Embarrassing loss for the Niners. Beathard isn't that bad. We talked about it briefly early. He had his head kicked in his first start. Now he panics. The Breda injury hurts so bad. Marquise is out. Pettis is out. It's just a bunch of backups playing against Green Bay. Rodgers should be able to pick them apart because there's no pass rush. Final game. We've got to go quickly here. 49ers at Packers. What do you think here, Donnie?
Cool weather, going to be in the mid-30s for this football game next Monday night, but just really early, quick looking at it, the over 46, even though it's going to be cold conditions for San Francisco, I think they're going to throw a lot. And if Green Bay is healthy at wide receiver, I think we're going to see some points in this game. I think Green Bay can get into the 30s, and I think San Francisco can return some fire. Give me the over 46 early in the week here, Jimmy.
Oh, interesting. The first over from Donnie. I will write that down.
Yeah.
I like the sounds of that. We will be breaking this game down heavy Friday. We'll be breaking all of these games down again in just 3 short days from now. Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern. It is Scotty Rock forever saying no, Breda. That's a huge loss. And Big Ragu Packers on a mission this week. Blowout. It is an absolute treat to work with you, Donnie Rightside. Will you please put a bow on this show and say goodbye to all the great cappers on our chat and all the people watching from home?
Look, me and Jimmy are only as good and only can have so much fun as what the chat box does provide. Once again, a big banging chat box out there to keep us interested throughout the hour show. Jimmy, it goes by so quickly. We'll be back on Friday. We'll polish up some of this stuff. We'll get those practice reports back out here. This is sportsbookreview.com. This is what we do. Thank you, Jimmy, for again hosting a fantastic show. Love the chat box out there. Catch us again on Friday for the extended, uncut version with Whale Capper. We'll have some fun. Hopefully, you can put some winners in your pocket. From everybody here at sportsbookreview.com and for the Audible, thank you, Jimmy. I'm Donnie Rightside. We'll catch you on Friday, folks.
Thanks so much, Donnie.
Awesome, bro.